I want to rank some interactive filmmaking software, so let's get it over with. At the very top is Twine, underneath that is Stornaway, underneath that is Unity, underneath that is Tweevee for Twine, underneath that is Frametrail, and H5P at the very bottom in the F pile. Maybe you want to know why. Let's start with Frametrail. It was made by academics. It was made in Germany. It's funded by the German government. It's genuinely free. It could be interesting for some larger projects, especially if you're already a talented developer yourself. On the negative side, it's not finished. I don't know why people are allowed to download it as it is. It requires a virtual server for operation, it requires outdated software to work, and it has limited applications and is best used for educational purposes. Let's talk about H5P. It is largely the same thing as Frametrail. There are some very interesting possibilities here to use hyper videos that have got things overlaid on top of them. It could be interesting if you're already very good at developing. If you do own it and you can pay for access to it through Canvas or one of the other VLEs, it's really interesting and exciting. However, it's just as tough to use as Frametrail is. You need to start a virtual server, you need to have Node.js installed to run it, or you need to be able to use some VLE like Canvas or Blackboard. Also, they are extremely vague about pricing. Although they say that it's free, actually if you look at it, it really costs about $1,000 a year, which I don't know about you, I don't think that that's free. Next up, let's talk about Stornaway. It's incredibly easy to use. Nothing's as easy to use as Stornaway. It has got incredibly reliable servers. I have students whose work has been on Stornaway servers for over 3 years. It's incredibly good value for money based on what you get for free, and now the game logic features that are embedded into it make it a very exciting possibility that even challenges some of the game engines that are on this list. On the con side, on the free version, you've got limited story islands available to you. You've got 25, each with 8 choices. There's no possibility for endless audio in between clips, which only seems to bother me, and it's not as advanced as it could be. There are also very limited uses to Stornaway. You're basically making Black Mirror, and that's it. If you want to make something like an interactive documentary, I think you better look elsewhere. As a final note about Stornaway, something that prevents me from recommending it really strongly is that based on what you get for free, if you compare that to their initial base price of $40 a month, it seems insane. Why doesn't it cost $5 a month? I would understand that. Putting it into context, the same reason why I almost recommended it, that a student has had work on it for 3 years, if they had been paying for the professional version, that would have cost them over $1,000. So I can't really recommend it completely. Next up, let's talk about Unity. It's very easy to use, maybe not as easy to use as some of the alternatives, but it isn't real programming. You can use visual drag and drop tools in order to program using Unity. It also opens the pathway to real game development. So if you get good at Unity from making interactive films, who knows what you could end up making. You could also end up making some kind of video game interactive film ungodly hybrid like Alan Wake 2 or Quantum Break or Control. On the negative sides though, yes, I know that it has got drag and drop tools and I know that it's not really programming, but scripting is still very difficult for some people, even when using somebody else's code like mine, which is available in the link through the description. Also, Unity's not always free for big projects, but I don't imagine any of you are making $1 million anytime soon. I'm certainly not, and if you do, congratulations. I hope you pay your taxes. Next up is Twine. Twine is not made for making interactive films, it just happens to be incredibly good at it, so please try out Twine. It is easier and more straightforward than Unity because it's got a restricted set of things that you can do. Yes, it's better suited to making text adventures, but making the transition from text adventure to interactive movie is actually very straightforward, and I have made some scripts myself that you can reuse at your leisure, and they are linked in one of my previous YouTube videos. On the negative side, yes, it's far more complicated than Stornaway. It's almost as complicated as using Unity, and if you just want to make something simple, then I really can't recommend Twine in good conscience. However, I'm of the opinion that learning how to use Twine is far more worth your while than putting a lot of hours into learning how to use Stornaway, where you learn no transferable skills. Plus, if you want to make something like Her Story or something that's more experimental, then you're more easily able to do that by using Twine than you're ever going to be able to do using Stornaway. Of course, if you want to get really experimental, yes, you're going to have to end up using Unity, but that's another story. Lastly, let's talk about Tweevee, which is kind of like Twine. It is an add-on package that was made by Mola Industria, the punk collective from Italy. To get started with Tweevee, you have to download Twine 1.4.2 and create a Twine story in that before dragging and dropping the Twee file of that Twine story into the Tweevee folder, and then it will just run and it will make an interactive movie as if by magic. If you're okay at Twine and you just need a simple solution to make an interactive film quickly and simply, then I can really recommend Tweevee, particularly because you're going to be supporting such an interesting collective of people at the same time. There are some negatives to Tweevee, of course. It requires downloading an outdated version of Twine. Also, it requires you to download something like the Phoenix browser that has got a live server built into it, so it's not the easiest thing to use in the whole world. Okay, I hope that video was helpful to some people. I know it's really straightforward, and I was only talking about free tools today. There are plenty of tools that you can pay for, and they're amazing, but they're so expensive. They're crazy, crazy expensive. I'm going to do a video on paid tools really, really soon. If you want to skip to the end of that, the one that I would probably recommend is Korsakov. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I gave it my best shot. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.